Good morning, Dr. Masood. Subayal here.
We have a morning and we have afternoon.
Okay. Good
Yes.
afternoon, students. It is a pleasure and honor to be with you.
Yes, welcome, Dr. Subial Khan. And, we're having today the guest lecture from Dr. Subial Khan, and he will be talking about I would say, most important concept in the entrepreneurship, which is about the business model, that how really you develop the business model.
Yep.
So, Dr. Khan, may I give you floor to introduce yourself? And please continue. Feel free to communicate. And
Yes, sure.
if you have any question, feel free to ask, and any question during the discussion as well. So welcome, Dr. Subial, please.
Thank you so much, Dr. Masood. It is a pleasure and honor to be in front of your students. So let me introduce a little bit about myself. My expertise are quite broad, but if you sum it up in a few words, it is ICT centric business development, right? So these are the few words that I will actually use. I did my PhD from Tampere University of Technology, and I have been very lucky to work with some renowned research institutes like Fraunhofer IIS, Center for Wireless Communications, and VTT Technical Research Center of Finland. And the good thing about these research centers was that they were all geared towards ICT-centric business development, right? And as a consultant, I also have a consulting company where I solve strategic problems for Scandinavian companies, SMEs, the Finnish, Swedish, and Norwegian SMEs. During my work in VTT, which spans over 12 years, I have been involved in many EU FP6, FP7, and Horizon 2020 projects. And I also teach. So I'm also a senior lecturer in London, and I teach MBA students. And this gives me a lot of fulfillment. So this is a little bit about me. So now I will share my screen, and then we will start with the lecture, right? So today we are going to discuss about the key traits and evolution of a business model, right? So a business model is not something which is static, which is something which is set in stone. No. Companies actually adapt their business models, as the new trends emerge in the business environment, as new blue oceans emerge, and as new innovations surface from the competition. Right. Really grateful to Dr. Masood for this wonderful opportunity. I'm indeed privileged and honored. So the learning objectives and agenda of today's lecture is, first of all, we will understand what is a business model. And as simple as it might seem, many entrepreneurs don't get it right. And that is why they don't get funding when they go to Shark Tank or Dragon's Den to present their business model or idea in front of the entrepreneurs. That is the very reason. Yeah, but we don't want to be in that boat. We need absolute clarity on what a business model actually is. Then we will look at Apple's business model, and we will see how things are going over there. And then we will also look at the impact of Apple's business model. And afterwards, we will see whether Apple's business model has always remained the same or has it actually changed with time. Very important, right? And then we will look at some other examples also, other companies also, and we will see why they have actually changed their business models. And then we will also look at the cases where the companies did not change their business model and what happened as a result, right? So, first of all, what is a business model? There are three things which you must remember. So, a business model describes how a business creates, delivers, and captures value. So if you say that you have a business model, and if you are unable to describe how your business will create, deliver, and capture value, then there is something wrong, right? So you have to get all these three right. Got it? And we all love Apple products. They are quite good. They are quite sleek. They are and amazing, very reliable. So we will now see how Apple's business model was forged. So let's see how Apple's business model creates, delivers, and captures value for its stakeholders. So, stakeholders. First of all, let's talk about stakeholders. Who are stakeholders? So, any organization, any company has internal as well as external stakeholders. Internal stakeholders, mainly employees, right? External stakeholders, wow, this is where the trouble is. So your company, any entity outside the company in the business environment that can influence a company is a stakeholder. So it includes regulators. So you know that in EU the regulators could be quite strict. Facebook faced a lot of problems related to privacy, in Germany, because the laws over there are strict. And so the regulators in Germany were quite hypercritical about it, right? So what happened as a result? The revenue of Facebook went down. So did it affect the company? Did it affect Facebook? Yes. So regulators are one type of stakeholders. Okay. Then there can be other stakeholders too outside the company, which can affect a company. They include investors, for example, right? So if there are some bad news in the media, people can just start dumping their shares or selling their shares, and then it can just become a barrage of sales of shares, and then the share price can plummet. So media, of course, it is yet again another external stakeholder which can influence a company, right? Bad reputation is not good, isn't it? So in the case of some McDonald's franchises, there was a problem. Some people got sick in the UK, and what happened as a result? It gave a very like these people in the media, they just started to talk about it. I think it was one franchise here. So, and then, people were quite hesitant to go to McDonald's. Okay. So stakeholders are very, very important. They are internal inside the organization and external outside the organization. Okay. So very important. So now let's go ahead. So let's see how Apple creates value for its stakeholders, right? So Apple creates value for its stakeholders, that is customer. Customers are also stakeholders, right? If the customers don't perceive your products valuable, what will happen? They will not buy it, or else they will not pay a premium for that, right? Okay. So if the customers are not happy, what happens? Your sales go down. And when your sales go down, what happens? The net income goes down, the profitability goes down. And then what do the people do? The investors do. The investors start to sell their shares. So the way these external stakeholders, influence the company is very, very important. Okay. So anyways, coming back to the point. So how Apple creates value for its stakeholders. Let's focus on the customers here. So number one, excellent integration of hardware and software in devices. Okay. So that Apple, unlike Microsoft, Apple does not give its operating system to any computer manufacturer or phone maker to put to use, right? It doesn't do that. So it simply means that they refine the software or the operating system and applications, in-house applications, and also the hardware, so that they work in harmony with each other, right? And the goal is only and only to provide a very good user experience to the customers, isn't it? And that is why we use the Apple smartphones. That is why we use the MacBooks. So they are amazing. I use a MacBook, for video editing, but right now I'm using a Windows computer, over here, right? And not only that, so it also provides robust digital services, Apple Pay, FaceTime, and others, which are just so reliable. Like, yeah, so they work quite well. And the third main point is premium materials and high-end components, which they use in their devices. So this is how Apple delivers value to its customers. And just think about it for a moment. If your device is very good looking, if it has very good materials and so on, but if the applications are not working well, honestly, you will throw away your phone after a few weeks, right? You don't need a phone where you click on the messaging app like WhatsApp, and then it takes quite a while for the app to actually start working. No, you don't need that, right? Okay. So it is a combination of different things which makes the end user experience absolutely amazing, which is unmatched in the industry, right, where it operates. And that results in what? Higher revenues and margins and innovations to retain a position in its industry. So look, here is the thing. Value is all about perception, right? So if you will perceive a product valuable, you will pay a premium for that, right? Value is in fact the factor which motivates a customer to take the wallet out of the pocket, take the credit card, and pay, right? so that is all what value is. Okay, so that is fundamentally important. If any one of these things is not done well, okay, hardware and software, if it is not done well, if these services are not reliable and crashing all the time, and if the device is plasticky and it doesn't have a premium feel to it, I don't think that any one of you will pay for such an iPhone, isn't it? So quite important. Okay. And how Apple delivers the value then, right? It delivers value to the customers through high-end devices with proprietary operating systems like iOS for the mobile devices, and then they have their chips for the computers that they manufacture, like Macs, right? And they do it to provide the best possible experience to the customers, right? This is how they deliver value. And the app ecosystem, which it has forged over the years, it has millions of apps. And the beauty of it, just think about it for a moment. In your class, there are many students, right? And I believe if, for example, any one of you, all of you, for example, if you compare your phones to each other, each one of you will most likely have different apps on your mobile phones. Maybe WhatsApp, all of you will have. Maybe a few more apps, all of you will have. But then there will be some apps which only you have on your phone. What does that mean? It means that you have cherry-picked the apps from the App Store and put them on your devices so that you can get the experience and value that is unique to you. That is unique to you. It means that the customer has co-created the value with the platform, isn't it? Yeah, because this was the problem with the Nokia phones. There were buttons on it. And if one of your friends wanted a different type of an application on a Nokia phone, it was so difficult because you cannot actually tweak the buttons or remove the buttons or change the layout very easily, isn't it? But in the case of this, you just have a screen in front of you, and it is quite adaptive. It will adapt to the way that you want it to adapt. So, for example, if you have a friend, and if that friend of yours is very interested in mobile games, and you are not, that is perfectly fine. Different people, different choices, different preferences, right? So your friend will just simply go to the App Store, press a button, and install the game that he or she wants to install. Now, On his phone, there is a game which you don't have. So it simply means that the App Store has given the customers the flexibility and ability to tweak the value to their preferences, right? And it is called customer value co-creation, where a customer is co-creating value together with the platform, right? Co-creating, creating value together. The value that the customer wants, that value has been created by interacting with the screen of the mobile phone. You got it? It is so amazing, isn't it? Yeah. So this is how Apple delivers value. And it will become more clear in a moment, okay? So another thing, what happens when you enter an Apple outlet? It is so beautiful. The things are laid out in a very simplistic way. And the people over there, they don't behave like salespersons. They don't tell you why the Apple product is better than the competition, why you should buy Apple iPhone, why you should be buying the Apple computers, in which ways they are better than Microsoft products, or let's say Lenovo or Hewlett Packard products. They don't do that. They are not salesy. In fact, they are facilitators. They come to you and they talk to you. Sir, what sort of a device are you looking for? You tell them that, oh, I'm looking for a new computer for video editing. Oh, okay, sir. So you need a computer which has a good, solid processor, which can make the video editing very simple, and easy for you. So here are these two computers, with big RAM, and with multiple cores in their processors. It would be a good idea if you kindly have a look at those. And then you go, they leave you in peace. You go, you test the computer, and then if you like it, what happens? You buy it, right? And even if you don't buy it, come on, they got a foot in the door, right? They got a foot in the door. You see, you go back with a perception. You have already tested the device. And let me tell you something, most probably, after a few months, the customer will buy that product, right? Okay, so you got the point. The ambience is amazing. You see, you go inside, you feel like home. It is so nice. Yeah. And what is the result of this? What is the result of all of this? Number one, very few returns, because the people in the Apple outlets, they have not been pushy. They have not been just getting the sale done. No, they were facilitators. So most probably the probability or the chance that you bought the device that you really liked or wanted is quite high. Probabilities is chance, okay? So the chance that a customer bought a device of his or her choice, that chances is increased. And when that chance is increased, what happens? Very few returns. When a product is returned, it is a big overhead for the company, isn't it? They have to ship it back to the company, then they have to make it almost new to sell it again. The packaging is broken. Who wants those headaches, right? So Apple mitigates it with this philosophy by delivering value in an amazing way, right? And then let me tell you something. It also enhances customer loyalty. And customer loyalty is often overlooked by many business owners. And that should not be the case. Why? It is 7 times easier to sell to an existing customer than a new customer. And the story doesn't end here. It is 7 times easier also, number one. Then you don't spend any money on marketing to them because they already know your product. They have already experienced your product. So you don't have to spend in advertising. You don't have to pay for the hours that the salespersons spend to get a new client. No, because they are already your clients. They already like you. And what happens as a result? It enhances the brand perception even more. Because if a customer has been buying the Apple products for a decade, is he really going to say anything bad for the brand? The chances of that happening is quite low, isn't it? Yeah. So we look at the Apple products, we use them, but we don't go through this thought process. So today I wanted to take you through this thought process, okay? And when they talk in a positive way about the Apple products, what happens? Other people also start to think positively about that. They start to perceive Apple as a premium brand. And what do you do for a premium brand? Of course, you pay more, right? So that is so amazing. Things are so interconnected, isn't it? Quite amazing. Yeah. And how Apple captures value, that is quite interesting one. It captures value by leveraging the latest technologies to the fullest. Nowadays, they use some super cool AI algorithms in their cameras, right? Camera software, sorry, yeah? So as new camera technologies surface, as new processor technologies evolve and come to the market, Apple is, in most cases, the first one to embrace them. But remember one thing, they don't compromise on the main essence of their business, that is to provide the best experience to its customers. No, that shouldn't be compromised. So it does not adopt the latest technologies for the sake of adopting them, right? They cherry pick them. Very important, very important. And look, it is something really profound. Apple iPhone was launched in 2007, right? It was launched in 2007. So I often ask my students a question, would that be a good idea if Apple has launched the iPhone 7 years back? And you know what? Most of them say, yes, sir, of course. If they had launched it before, it would have been even better. But think about it for a moment. In 2000s and before that, it will take so much time for even a web page to load. How on earth could you watch YouTube videos with those bad internet speeds? Isn't it? And the processors were also not that powerful. The touch screens were not good enough. But let's say even if Apple had developed all these things 7 years back, if you had an iPhone in your hand with amazing camera and everything, all the bells and whistles which you have available to you on iPhones nowadays, still, if it was given to you, handed over to you 7 years back before its launch in 2000, it would be a useless device because the internet speeds were not good enough. Yeah? What would you do with WhatsApp if your internet connection doesn't allow that? What will you do with a YouTube app on your mobile device if you are unable to watch any video? You got the point? So, timing is important. Yes, they capture value by leveraging the latest technologies, but they look at the timing and they also make sure that they are not just adopting them for the sake of it. No, they don't do that. Sense of purpose is always there. It has been a hallmark of Apple. Okay? And now that we have discussed the Apple's business model a little bit, let's talk about the impact of Apple's business model. What impact did it have on the society? And that is mind-blowing. See, app ecosystems of Apple and Google facilitate billions of people to access various services at the fingertips. This is something which the Nokia phones won't allow you to do. right? Some of them did, but then the game was already over, right? And it saves them time. It saves people time. So, for example, if you have ever been to London, 10, 12 years back, 15 years back, or maybe 2 decades back, when there were no mobile smartphones, what would happen? In order to go in the London Underground, to go from place A to place B inside London, what would you do? You will first stand in a queue, right? You will first stand in a queue, and it will waste 10, 15 minutes, right? And then you will take money out of your pocket, another inconvenience, another time waster. Give it to the person, he will count the money, give you the change, you keep the change in your pocket, and then you again stand in the queue in front of the platform so that you can go in. So each time that you take a ride in the London Underground, it will waste 20 to 40 minutes of your valuable time, right? And time is a non-replenishable resource. It is a scarce resource. You can make money later on, but you cannot get the time of your life again that has passed. So millions of people travel in London Underground each week. Multiply, let's say, those millions of people, those journeys with 30 minutes. So many millions of hours have been saved of people, because now you just take the phone, you tap it, and you go. You don't need to stand in the queue. You tap, you go. You tap, you go. That is it. Yeah. You don't even need to take the wallet out of your pocket. Isn't that good? Yeah. Of course it is. Yeah. And British people, they have a habit of standing in the queue, right? So they find reasons to just get in the queue, and that is quite irritating at times for a person like me. Yeah, it is just a cultural thing here. Okay, so look, no more queues, no more time wastage, convenience. Amazing. How has it been made possible? Via smartphones. You simply install Google Pay, on your mobile device, you tap and you go. Isn't that amazing? And what about banking? Yeah. Nowadays, you don't need to, at least in the UK and Europe, until and unless you do it intentionally. So, for example, some people like these big brick and mortar banks. Good, no problems. They can go to HSBC branch or a Barclays branch, book an appointment beforehand. And when you book an appointment, trust me, for 20, 30 minutes, they won't pick the phone. Okay. It is a fact. Try it out. Right. And then you finally get an appointment. Then you get in your car. Most likely there will be a traffic jam. It is UK. It's a small island, lots of people. You go there, you sit with the person for half an hour. He will just take all these documents from you and photocopy them, fill the forms with hand. Who wants that nowadays? I don't. So what do? Revolut. An app on my phone. Just with a few clicks of buttons, they ask for my email, a few other things, and then the form is filled. I press enter, and I get my IBAN number and my UK SWIFT code and sort code and bank account number, right? That is it. Isn't that convenient? Of course it is. Yeah. And I'm also teaching you right now through Zoom, right? So just look at this, how far have these technologies come, and they allow us to explore amazing possibilities. Yeah. Travel and hospitality, right? So maybe Dr. Maksud will remember, when I was coming to Sweden, basically in 2003, I went to Islamabad, to a travel agent to buy my ticket for Sweden. And would you believe that it took him like an hour to figure out which airline I will travel, through which airline I will travel, and so on and so forth. Oh my God! It was so hot. It was like 45 degrees centigrade, scorching heat. It was not the best of days, right? So it can get quite warm in Pakistan in June and July, right? So in that oven of weather, I went there, and I was just sitting there, and this gentleman, was looking at the different airlines and then telling me, okay, you might go for this one or that one, and so on. And it was not a good experience. But nowadays, what happens? Go to booking.com, enter the destination where you want to travel, press a button. Okay. You can even book your hotel over here. And then you are given all these different options. Okay. Which airline do you want to travel with? Which class, like business class, or let's say economy class? It will give you different options, right? So conveniently. It will do that so conveniently. You just simply press a button, and then you just simply purchase the ticket that you like. Isn't that awesome? Is that better? Is that time saving better? Or going to a travel agent, wasting an hour of your life in that, and then sitting with him for maybe half an hour or 1 hour? Is that really worth it? No, isn't it? So these apps like booking.com help you achieve that. So just imagine how much impact has the vision of Steve Jobs actually created. And look at that. Microsoft Outlook. This is yet another amazing app. Yeah. And see, it is so easy to co-create value with the colleagues nowadays. Yeah. If you are teaching a module in a university, and if there are a few lecturers whom you are leading, to teach that module, all what you do is that you go there. You create a team, right? You send one message, it goes to everybody. Much more convenient than email. Everything is in one place. You can share the document seamlessly, and the way OneDrive of Microsoft and Outlook work with each other, it is absolutely outstanding. Yeah. So, any questions?
Yeah, they will ask probably at the end.
Okay, sir, that is fine. Let's proceed. So now, has Apple's business model always remained the same? That is the question, right? If it will always remain the same, then the job of the CEO will become quite simple, right? Because the leader of the company, the CEO, doesn't have to look anywhere. Okay, the ship is sailing in a straight direction, with the same speed in the ocean of business environment, and they don't have to worry about anything. But unfortunately, the world is not that nice, right? Things happen randomly, and they come out of the blue, right? So it is not that simple. Okay. So again, has Apple's business model always remained the same? So the answer to this is no, it hasn't. In fact, you know what? Apple has been struggling since 1985, right? they didn't have a vision, to pursue. They were doing all these sort of cool gadgets, which were quite nice for an engineer, for a person like me. So deep inside, I'm an engineer. Of course, I did my PhD in computer science, by the way. But after 2012, I fell in love with the world of business. I have then left that career, right? So, Apple was on a steady decline since 1985, and in 1997 it was on the verge of bankruptcy. Would you believe that? Yeah, it was almost there, right? And the reason was Apple had no clear vision, right? It had no clear vision. And in this moment of stress, in this moment of anxiety and uncertainty, something amazing happens. Okay, I will come to that in a moment. But let me tell you something very important. What is the biggest challenge of entrepreneurs? The biggest challenge of entrepreneurs is not creativity, and it might shock you. It is not. And it is also not the lack of a good idea. And it is also not the lack of a good business model. Let me also be upfront with that. What is the most important trait of an entrepreneur? It is to navigate uncertainty, right? So you can have a very good business model, you can have an amazing team, you can have an amazing product and all that. But trust me, once you launch the product, things will not go as you expected them to go. Sometimes a team member of yours will leave. Sometimes a new trend will emerge. Sometimes a regulator will have problem with your product. And all these things bring uncertainty, right? You are faced with something which you didn't expect, right? How are you going to deal with this uncertainty? How you are going to navigate uncertainty in life, is the most important thing if you want to become an entrepreneur, right? So remember this thing. So things happen in the business environment, randomly. Anything can happen, trust me. And when things happen, the people, their confidence is shaken at that point. Yeah. So leadership is not that easy. So just imagine, put yourselves in those shoes. Since Apple is now on the verge of bankruptcy, Steve Jobs was the person who formed Apple, who was the creator of Apple. He was the founder of Apple. And now he was then fired from the company. Then he came back. And when he came back, he had a company in front of him, which was on the verge of bankruptcy. It is not the most beautiful situation in which a person wants himself. Why? Because what do the people say? What would the people say if Apple had gone bankrupt? Steve Jobs was already fired, and now see, he came back and he did the last thing, which was to take Apple to bankruptcy. Congratulations. This is what people would say if it had gone to bankruptcy. And see, now you are there in this chaos and you have to rescue the company. Yeah, a stressful situation, isn't it? But then something happened. What happened? Steve Jobs called his friend Steve Jobs. Now, the media would say that, these two guys are rivals, they don't like each other, and so on and so forth. But look, this is the entrepreneurial spirit, which is to create impact in the society. So Steve Jobs called Apple, right? And he told him about the situation that Apple was facing. And Microsoft agreed to make a $15 million investment in Apple, and that rescued Apple. Okay. So Just look at that. You see, it is so amazing. Okay. So he didn't give up. He called Steve Jobs, and then Microsoft made an investment of $15 million in Microsoft made $15 million of investment in Apple, and it was saved. Okay. Now the money is there, but the things have to change now. Now he has to deliver, right? So at this crucial moment, Steve Jobs came with a vision. He envisioned a future where digital services will be available to devices or to people through the devices on fingertips. Right? So these things also give Apple resilience and sustainability. Now, let me come to that. So a successful business has many legs. Okay. So think about business like a stool on which you are sitting. If it has three legs, and if one leg is broken, you will fall down, right? But if the chair has 5 legs, if one leg is broken, still there are 4 legs to support you. You will not fall down. If yet another leg is broken, still you have 3 legs to support you. You will not fall down. And as these 2 legs were wiped out, it did something amazing. It bought you some time to think, to rearrange your products and services, to refine them, maybe to market them to a different audience, stuff like that. It bought you some time. But if the business is reliant on 1 or 2 cash flows, if one of them is wiped out, then it could be a living hell, isn't it? So Apple was already selling devices. They were selling devices. They were selling Macs and so on. But then they said, look, we cannot just rely on that. We need to complement it with services, right? So what did they do? They came up with this vision of providing digital services to the people through their devices. Devices they were selling anyways beforehand. So why not create more revenue out of these devices by motivating people to use them in creative ways? And that will only be possible if the people are given the possibility and flexibility to install the apps that they see valuable. Isn't that amazing? Yeah. And the same thing, it is actually called service dominant logic. So Dr. Masood, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it is called service dominant logic. So the car companies, what did they do before? They used to sell cars, just cars. They will sell a car and then they will make money out of that. But nowadays, what do? They don't just sell a car. They don't leave you in peace. When a car is broken or it has a problem with the engine or with the electronics and with windows or anything, what do? For example, if you have a BMW, you will take it to a BMW service station and get it repaired. And once it gets repaired, who makes money again? BMW. Same is with Toyota. They have their own service stations. Same with Nissan. Same with Mercedes. So essentially, they make money out of the car as long as the car is in use. Isn't that amazing? It is called service dominant logic. So they go downstreams, okay, into services. Rather than just selling you a car, they are selling you something out of which they can squeeze cash, as long as the car is in use. Okay, good. And Apple wanted to do the same thing, isn't it? Before they were selling devices, good. They sold you a device, they made money. That is it. Story over. But no, the story is not over. You get an iPhone, you start installing the apps. What happens? The app developer makes money. And by the way, every app developer also pays Apple $100 or something, at least they used to do before, each year for just keeping their app on their platform. That is so beautiful. They don't have to hire so many developers now And people are developing the apps for them and also paying them. That is so amazing, right? That is so amazing. Instead of paying an employee to develop an app in-house, what do? They gave people the flexibility all over the world to design the apps for their platform. So they have billions of people at their disposal to develop apps for their platform for free and also pay them each year just to keep their app on the platform. And also, once the app starts to make money, there is a potential for Apple to also make money. So isn't that amazing? Yeah. Yeah. So that was the vision. Okay. And it gave Apple flexibility and resilience. Not just computers, but now phones are also selling, right? Then they also introduced these iPads, right? Another device category. So multiple income streams from just devices. Then also at the same time, something amazing is happening. All these devices, as people spend more and more time on them, Apple makes more and more money. Yeah. So it is an amazing situation for Apple. They have no multiple income streams, isn't it? And it gives Apple resilience. Yeah. If one cash flow has a problem, there is cash flow coming from something else. If iPhone sales are going down, no problems. The sales of computers can actually compensate for that. And this is what makes companies resilient. Yeah, that is so amazing. Yeah, interesting, isn't it? Good. So to realize this vision, iPhone was launched in 2007, right? So this was not just another phone. It was a way to facilitate customers to access various services at their fingertips, right? So people can have freedom to decide which services do they want to install on their phones. But will a Nokia phone allow you to do that? No. Right? So, and also they give you the flexibility to select yourself which service provider you want. If you want Uber, you can install Uber. If you want to install the app of another taxi company, you can install that also. You can install Lyft, which is the competitor for Uber in some countries. You got the point. So the power is in your hands. You are the one who is co-creating value now together with the platform, isn't it? That's so amazing. Yeah. So why firms change their business models? Now, we have talked a lot about Apple. Now, let's get out of that. So, and talk about other companies. So why firms change their business models? Yeah. So look, business model that is disruptive today won't remain disruptive forever. Okay. Because the trends evolve. Okay. The technologies evolve. And the customer perceptions and needs also change, isn't it? So all these things are changing with time. Okay. That is quite good. So no business can just remain stagnant. No business can just remain stagnant, right? They have to adapt. They have to change themselves with the winds of change. Okay. So Google has decoded. So look, Apple's business model was also copied. Of course it was. You see? So who copied it? Google copied it, right? And they did not only launched a competing operating system called Android, and then an ecosystem on the top of that, just like App Store. But nowadays something amazing is going on. You know what has happened recently? So I use a Google Pixel 6 phone, okay? And this phone is absolutely fantastic. It is amazing, okay? It is on the experience is at par with the Apple iPhone, okay? So what happened? Google understood that, look, in order to really compete and counter iPhone, they need to think in the same way as Apple does. They have to change their thought process. Okay. So, just like Apple, they have now introduced their own chips, okay, for their devices. So, this Google Pixel phone contains a Google Tensor chip inside it, which is tailor made for the Android operating system, the version of that which is on the Google Pixel 6 phones. Okay. And now I think Pixel 7 has also arrived, but I'm not sure. Right. So they are doing the same thing now. Their own hardware, their own software, they work together with in harmony, and they provide the user with the best possible experience. Yeah. Good. So Google Pixel 6 is an excellent device, just like Apple iPhone, and because it was made with the same philosophy. The chip comes from the same company, that is Google, from which the Android operating system comes, and that makes things so amazing. And it works smoothly, and it has great battery life also, right? Right. But the Apple's nightmare might have just started, and you know why? A phone is not so different from a computer. No, it isn't. Yeah, it is actually a computer in your pocket. 20, 30 years back, the computers couldn't do the things which the phones of today could do. Actually, your phone can do pretty much anything which your computer can do, right? The only limitation is the form factor, right? Okay, because you need a good sized keyboards to type maybe an email and do certain word processing. And it is also good for your eyes, and you cannot just look at your phone all the time like this. Not good. You see, it will give you a pain in the neck. You see, but it is the experience that the form factor of the device provides you. So, of course, Google can also replicate the same thing in their in their computers, in their laptops, which Apple did, right? It is not that difficult to do. Now that they have the learning curve already of developing their own chips. So about what do we call it? Google Chromebook, yeah. So Google Chromebooks are becoming better and better, right? I don't think that the time is far where we would see Google's own chip inside a Chromebook, and it will be working as good as a MacBook. Now, whether they are going to go in that direction and is a question, of course. It depends. And but it is possible. And it could potentially be a nightmare for Apple, right? Okay. So this is something which time will tell. But the point which I want to get across is that things happen in the business environment in unexpected ways. Uncertainty is always there, right? And the coping mechanism which a person has or which a company has with that uncertainty is very important, or to mitigate the effects of that or suppress the effects of that uncertainty.
Dr. Khan, may I interrupt here for a short?
Yes, please.
Actually, just wanted to let you know this class, and of course the other class, they're having some projects. They want to build their own business model.
Yes, sure.
Working, on those ideas at this stage. I was wondering if you would like to little bit highlight that how they can develop their own business model while they are working with their project. They are very much focusing on the design thinking approach.
Okay, I see, sir. I see. Yeah, definitely. I will come to that, and of course, I can develop another lecture also tailor made for that. So that is also absolutely fine. Yeah. So that is it. So Apple is not alone, right? If we look here, many firms change business models to survive. IBM, they used to make computers, but nowadays it is a consulting company. The car companies have gone from pure manufacturing to also services on the side, right? Okay. So companies always do that to diversify their cash flow and to tap into different markets also from time to time to remain sustainable, right? So Nokia. So what happens when the firms don't alter their business models? As trends change and things evolve in the business environment, Nokia and BlackBerry, what happened to them? They relied on a closed ecosystem of apps, and also phones without touchscreens. And what happened? Their mobile phone businesses were obliterated, right? They were late to the party. Okay, they came up with their own operating systems to counter Android and iOS, but then these two ecosystems have gotten so much traction that it was game over for them, right? They lost over 90% of market share in a few years. So that is all about it, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very, very much for your time. I really appreciate that. And now, please feel free to ask me as many questions as you want.
So the time for question, please. Yeah, go ahead. What is it?
Doctor, when you mentioned that Apple was at the edge of bankruptcy, as an entrepreneur, you will face such problems, right?
Yes.
How do you know that? Maybe there is some phrase at the first lecture, I remember, an entrepreneur will kill bad ideas and as well as good ideas. Not all ideas will work. So if an entrepreneur faces such a problem, how does she or he knows that maybe I need to quit this idea and work into other things, or maybe I need to change and something and continue with the same idea? How do we gain the skill?
Good. So look, first of all, you must have a business model in place. Just having an idea is not enough. And the technique which I teach, well, it is very common, honestly. Dr. Maqsood must be knowing it. It's called Barringer Ireland's business model development approach. So look, it has 4 different key areas. I can develop another lecture for that, no problems at all. So look, when you develop a business model, you have to be pragmatic. Just having an idea is not enough, right? You need to look at the market size. You need to look at some other things. You really need to drill down on your vision and mission. Okay, so there has to be a demand in the market, very, very important. And then how you are going to deliver value is also very important. Are you going to sell something physical, or is it going to be something which is intangible or a service, right? So in order to navigate the uncertainty or to actually find the right ejection point where you should give up an idea, well, most probably that problem won't even occur if you have developed a good business model, right? And you back it up with data, right? So for example, you must know your market size. You must know your price points, or at least you should have a fair bit of idea. The main dimensions of differentiation which your product has as compared to the competition is very important, right? So what would motivate a customer to buy from you rather than buying it from your competition? Are there some other specific advantages which you have, which your competitors don't have? So once all these things are in alignment, then you have already reduced the probability of failure quite a bit, right? Then once you start a business, you always start with a minimum viable product, right? So for example, if there are 5 key aspects of your value proposition, you can maybe start with just 2, which are the most prominent ones, which are a no-brainer for your target audience. Just start with those, focus on those, get some cash flow going, and then that will reduce the anxiety and also the fear of pursuing it further, and then adding the third one, the fourth one, and the fifth aspect of your value proposition. Yeah, so it should be an incremental process. You have to start with a minimum viable product. When you start from a minimum viable product, okay, no problems. If you are hit by some sort of a surprise that the 2 things, key features of your product, which you thought were a no-brainer for the customer, if for some reason, even if they are not working out, if no one is paying for your service and products, with these 2 things in place, then probably it is a good idea to give up. It would be good to give that idea up, or to tweak your value proposition a little bit, right? So many entrepreneurs make this mistake that they want to go for the perfect or product at once, right? But look, you should have a growth mindset, right? Not a fixed mindset. So what do I mean? You start with something small, which you think is going to bring you cash flow, because in business, the cash flow is the most important thing, right? Once you start to make money from your business, it will give you the confidence to become even more bolder in your ambition, right? But if you are not able to get cash flow, and if you spend too much time on your idea, then you might be having more trouble. So always start small, start with a minimum viable product, and if the aspects of your value proposition which you think are no-brainer for the customer, when you start with that and you think that they are not working, probably it is a good thing then to just give up that idea. Yeah.
Yeah. Yes, please. Go ahead. It's fine. Yeah.
It's not really a question, but I just wanted to say that thank you very much for really devoting your time to explain such important concepts for us, considering that this is even a course we're taking. And
you're welcome.
Entrepreneurship, and really just like you, the words you were selecting, the slides were very easy. You were using accessible language. So to me, because like I was always thinking of entrepreneurship as something that is like a very hard concept. You have to take so many things into consideration, which is still true. But you made it so simple that it makes me feel like I can do it. And that's what I really like. And using Apple as an example was really clever as well, because it's a well-known brand and everyone.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, everything was well constructed and made it really easy to understand. So I really took a lot of takeaways from this.
So,
thank you very much. Yes, please, Dr. Maqsood. Sorry to interrupt you.
Yeah, no, this is very good. Can you very shortly describe what is the business model?
Business model aims at creating and delivering value to your customers in a way that allows them to result. Well, because I took a lot of notes, there were a lot of good points, so now like my mind. But it mainly focuses on creating a value, how you deliver that value, and how you maintain it and identify it, and a way of connecting with your customers to increase revenue and overall profitability of the
Excellent. So
outstanding.
We learn like one big words from this whole discussion. So the value proposition, we can write it down this way: the value proposition, how you create the value, and you can maximize the value, so people can really understand a more simple way. That's a way to say that business model. Yeah. Great. Any other question from the class? Yes.
Doctor, I have one question that we need to have money is the main reason that we need to have money to be a successful internship or not, and what's the things that we need to be a successful internship?
Entrepreneurship, huh?
Yeah.
So you think once again rephrase that? Is it money is important to become an entrepreneur?
Another things.
your question, is it money important to become an entrepreneur? Huh?
Yeah.
Yeah. Is it money important to become an entrepreneur?
Yes, sir. I will answer this question. Since I'm an entrepreneur, apart from being a full-time lecturer, also, of course, teaching is something which I deeply, deeply love and enjoy. So I have a consulting company, and in business, look, trust me on one thing that most of you, in your life, look, here is the thing. If you can, okay, business is something which is like a journey. So if you think about too much money upfront, then probably it won't be a good idea to become an entrepreneur. Okay, so I have seen very tough times in my entrepreneurial journey. Okay, and it is for this reason, it is not for everybody, because look, on social media, all what you see is beautiful picture which is painted, which the people want to see. But trust me, entrepreneurship in the beginning is something where you have to be really humble. One of my Romanian students, she cannot even speak English very well. She started baking cakes in her kitchen. Now she bought another oven. Now she's doing around 3,000, like around $4,000 in pure net income. It took her 2-3 years. Trust me, in the beginning, for many months she was just making $1,400-1,500 per month, which was not sufficient to support her. So look, she went through this tough time, but now she's so happy to bake those cakes, ship it to her customers. So entrepreneurship is something which might start very small, and slowly it grows, and then once the momentum comes, you will be shocked to see the money that you can actually make. Trust me. So take it small. Okay, start small, think big. Okay, and please do not come to entrepreneurship with an idea that there are millions stacked on a table and you will fetch them. No, it will need some hard work, it will need some resilience, but trust me, it is absolutely worth it. Once you create your business, you will hire other people, and that whole process will give you even more happiness than money. That many people are working with you, their families are supported, and it is your business that is doing that. Isn't that amazing? So as an entrepreneur, you create possibilities for the whole society. That should be the position from which you should approach business, and then money will come as a consequence. Don't worry about it.
Dr. Khan, thank you very much. I think we really enjoyed all the discussion. By the way, we having also one student. Her name was Fatma Al-Balochi. So
yes,
she started from the class. Ras roll. Her grandmother makes some Arabic sweets, and she started, just from home, and she has really big business now. We have many such examples. But
yes,
student has to go for another class. Yeah, you have one question, the last one, please.
yes.
And in the meantime, you can start, whatever you're asking. Dr. Khan, yes, please, first go ahead with what you were saying.
Yes, so one request to the students, please go to menti.com. It is in front of you, MENTI, and type this code 21906181 so that you can give me and Dr. Maksud some feedback. It will mean world to us. It is so kind of him to arrange that. And, we have been working together to bring the quality material to you. So let's start with this. It will take only 2 minutes. Okay, so go to menti.com and type 21906181. Okay, it will just take a few minutes.
Just go there, 2 minutes. Okay, now we go back to your question. Yes, what was your question, please?
So my question was, when we have an idea and then we create a business model,
I wanted to know if we have a really like small network of communication with other like companies.
Hmm.
How can we reach out to these companies? So like, how can we reach out to these companies with for funding for our idea?
Yes,
yeah.
good. Good. So basically, look, you have seen maybe Shark Tank, you have maybe seen Dragon's Den and programs like that. So before going through these funding rounds and approaching investors, you must make sure that you have a working business model. Okay. And what do I mean by a working business model? You should have some cash flow going, because these investors, they are very pragmatic people, right? They are you might have seen that at times they are very non-emotional, right? About their investing decisions. So you must have some cash flow going. The key things which they will ask you will be like how much value you are creating, meaning how much net income you are generating year on year, or let's say for the first few or 6-7 months. Okay. And then they will also ask you about some other things. How does the competition look like? If you are selling a tangible product, then in that tangible product, do you have any supply chains issues? Do you have some other issues? Do you have some regulatory issues? So first of all, you must get the sales going. Okay. And then you should approach the investors, because then you have a proven business model, right? So then you can get some really cool funding. Yeah.
We asked this question because as students, especially with very little experience or knowledge about finance, how like it's sometimes like I've went to multiple programs, MIT bootcamp programs about
Thank you.
entrepreneurship and stuff, and everything was going so well until we reached the process where we have to talk about how we're generating profit and all cash and money and all. So that part really was always the struggle because we know very little about it and we don't have much expertise in it. So it
Yeah.
ends up being a cool idea we have.
Okay, good. So you talked about numbers, right? So trust me on one thing. As an entrepreneur, you don't need to know too many numbers. So you don't need to know the financial statements, and you shouldn't be, you don't need to be a master of doing the horizontal and vertical analysis. Okay. So the most important thing is you need to know your audience. You need to know what you are doing, first of all, right? How you are going to differentiate yourself. So when it comes to numbers, remember a few things. How much are your costs? Okay. How much are your costs? Then how much are you going to sell your products for? And then is it a volume game, or will you be having a few transactions only? Okay. So for example, look at Rolex. Rolex sells very few watches as compared to Casio. But Casio also makes a lot of money. Casio plays the volume game. Okay. And Rolex plays the brand game, the niche game, right? So you don't actually need to be very good with numbers, to be very honest with you, but you need to know some numbers for sure. You definitely need to know what your transaction size is going to be. Can you increase your transaction size? Can you make some higher value sales? Right? Can you actually enhance your value proposition just a little bit so that you can also get traction with the customers who are wealthy? That is very important, right? Because otherwise, you need to have a product where you need tons of transactions of very, very small sizes to make enough money. So yeah, so very, very, so that is very important. So you don't need to know quite a lot of numbers, but you need to be good with a few, you should have some intuition about these numbers, how much you are going to sell your product for, and how much can you actually charge your customer. Coming up with the right price points is very important, then the actual calculation of the profits and so on. This is something which an accountant will do it for you, right? But as an entrepreneur, you have to be a connection builder. right? You have to be a person who inspires the people working under him or her, right? You should be a person who knows how to actually figure out things, right? And how to be resilient and have the right coping mechanism when the stress is there and when the things are not going in the right direction as you want, goes against your expectations. So yeah, these are more important. But numbers, net income, revenues, the costs are important, and the way you are going to deliver your service and how much it costs you, the cost of sales. That's it.
Okay, thank you very much. Really, no big hand for the professor.
Thank you very much.
They have another, class they have to attend, so that's why.
Thank you, sir.
Love to continue this such an interesting discussion. We really appreciate your kind time, efforts.
No problem, sir. Anytime.
Bringing to my class, and we really appreciate. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Masood. Thank you, students. Bye-bye.